Hi, I'm Kathy Sherry, and this is the Kathy Sherry Show. So, coaches and all of you solopreneurs who work one on one with clients, if you're doing it without protection, you may be exposing yourself to some serious risk. The good news is, my guest today has an easy fix. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here today. We are serving up straight talk for women entrepreneurs, and we'll be dishing on client agreements today. Now, before you say, what? You are about to learn why you really ought to have one and how it will actually help you get clients. My guest is my friend and colleague Lisa Fraley. She's an attorney who practiced law in a big corporate firm for years, and she's also a health and life coach. And she's going to show us how to take the fear and overwhelm out of the legal stuff that we really need to protect ourselves in business. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, Lisa, before we dive into all the nitty gritty here, I would love to have you tell us about your journey from big law to coach and entrepreneur.
Sure, Kathy. So I started out working in a large corporate law firm where I worked in the areas of care and litigation. And actually, there was a lot about the law firm that I really loved, but I just worked like a dog. And I discovered that
Mm,
my health was suffering as a result. I was relying on a lot of sugar and a lot of caffeine, and it kind of led me down this path into health and wellness. And that's what prompted me to become a holistic health coach. And I started to practice as a holistic health coach for a while and realized that other health coaches and holistic entrepreneurs kept coming to me and saying, Lisa, you're a lawyer. Can you help us make sense of some of these crazy legal protections that we should have for our business, but we really don't know where to begin? And it dawned on me that I really needed to bring together my legal background along with the coaching background to help entrepreneurs and health coaches just make the legal part really easy and simple and comfortable. So that's how I became a legal coach. And I've been doing that for about a year now.
You know, it's so interesting because your story is very similar to mine in a lot of ways. And I know so many people like us in our community who were in some kind of corporate career, their first
Right,
career, if you will, then became health coaches because of health concerns of their own, and then
right.
gravitated back to, the business they grew up with, essentially, and kind of pull it all together. And I think it's really amazing and just very cool that we're able to do that.
I know I feel fortunate actually because I feel like we have the ability to help coaches in areas that they don't really have. They don't learn about in their health coaching schools and they don't have the tools ready on hand. And yet, what's so great about it is that we get health coaches, like because we are coaches too. So that immediately
Right.
makes people more comfortable and us more comfortable working together just to try to help people move forward in their business because that's really what it's all about is helping coaches strengthen their businesses and be successful.
Exactly. And now I know you work primarily with holistic entrepreneurs, but I imagine your legal solutions and your coaching would be valuable to just about any solopreneur who works one on one with clients, right?
Yes, exactly. I've actually worked the other day with a client who's not a holistic health coach at all, and it was a whole different field. And yeah, but all these legal protections apply to anyone who has their own business and needs to put them in place just to give themselves some confidence and some protection. But it goes far beyond holistic health coaches.
Right. Now, I have to confess that I'm a bit phobic when it comes to any kind of documents or contracts and legal stuff, and I suspect I have some company out there. What is it that you see in your business when it comes to kind of entrepreneurs and what's holding us back from taking care of the legal stuff?
Sure. Kathy, you'll be happy to know you're not alone in feeling that way. A lot of us are not even sure where to begin when it
Hmm.
comes to the legal part. We're really focused on the business and focusing on helping our clients. And so sometimes I think coaches don't even know what questions that they need to be
Yeah.
asking. And that's totally understandable. And so part of what I do is try to make it easy and comfortable and quick and just take all of that fear out of the legal protection side
Hmm.
to help people put in place really basic protections depending on where they are in their coaching practice or where they are with their holistic business. So if you're a newer coach or a newer business owner, there's certain things that I recommend that you do. And if you're farther down the line with your practice, then there's some other legal protections you might want to consider for yourself.
Now, you've come up with what I think is a rather brilliant but incredibly easy to understand document of your own that's called the five crucial components
Mm,
you need in every client agreement. And I want to go through them with you one by one, but first,
okay.
why do we need a client agreement?
So there's a couple of reasons why I think everyone benefits from having a client agreement. And the main reason is because it actually allows you to think ahead with your clients and to figure out how you're going to handle certain situations
Mm,
going forward. There's a lot of conversation that's really uncomfortable to have with your clients, especially as you're enrolling them in your program or in a discovery session, like what happens if they don't make a payment or
hmm.
what happens if they miss a session. And it's awkward to talk about these things. So having a client agreement lets you put it all down in writing right from the start and lets your clients know exactly how you'll both handle situations if they were to arise. So it gives both parties comfort and security and just sort of a knowingness of what will happen going forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me. I mean, so many of us women entrepreneurs, and it seems to me holistic entrepreneurs really have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
money issues, and we don't know how to ask for money for our services. It's almost as if,
Right.
we feel like we should be giving it away.
Yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
really excited to hear about the actual 5 points that you feel need to be in this agreement. So let's start with the first one, which is this a nice segue, is be
Yeah.
clear about payments.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of holistic entrepreneurs have such big hearts and want to serve the
Hmm.
world and serve their clients that they really do want to give it away for free or for far less than it really their services are worth. And so it sometimes feels hard to stand in your value. And one of the things that I think a client agreement can do is sort of help you have some of that backbone
Hmm.
for standing in your value. Because once you quote an investment level to a client, and it's in your client agreement, it's kind of hard to back away from that. So it helps give you that added confidence as you're talking about payments with your client. The other thing that I think it does is allows you to think ahead. So
Hmm.
let's say you'll want to think about things to put in your agreement that relates to payment, like is your client paying in full or are they paying in installments? And if they're paying in installments, for example, you have to be really clear about when those installments are due and how those dollars are going to be collected. Are you going to send them a PayPal notice? Is it an automatic withdrawal from their account? Like you want to be really clear so that they know how their money's being handled. And then also you have to think about things like, do they get a refund? What if they're
Right.
6 courses into your 9 course program? Do they still get a refund? Do they need to put down a deposit? How you handle some of those basic money questions from the start? Because the money piece, I think, is the most stressful for most entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
So number two is spell out responsibilities. And when you
Yes.
say responsibilities, is this responsibilities for you as the coach or
Right.
for the client or both?
Right. So, most importantly, I think you need to spell out the responsibilities for the client
Mm,
in terms of asking them what you expect from them and being really clear about that. Because,
mhm.
again, in our discovery session, you often don't have time or it's not the right environment to go into specifics like, I need you to show up on time for every call. And it's really important that you apply 100% of your effort to this program in order to get the results that you're seeking. But because a lot of newer coaches in particular are a little bit less secure in asking
Mhm.
clients to really stand in an accountable place. So I also encourage coaches to put their own section in about what their responsibilities are, so that they're showing the client, here's how I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to come on time. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to serve as your guide and your mentor and your coach. Here's what you can expect from me. And then sometimes it's more comfortable that to then say, and this is what I expect from you as the client.
Now, do you think having this in a client agreement is actually provides like additional commitment and motivation for the client because they're actually signing a piece of paper saying, that they're
Exactly.
going to be all in.
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Kathy, because it really does. It helps the client show up for themselves. And we as coaches know that we hold the space for clients to engage in their growth and to develop
Hmm.
and to really heal what's going on with their bodies or their lives. But they have to do the work. And so this
Right.
allows, sort of, it creates a container, I like to say, to hold the relationship. And it helps them show up more, especially because their name is on the dotted line. So we're really serving our clients by providing them with a document like this, because we're helping them step forward into a
Right.
place where they can stretch themselves.
That's right. So number three is require notice for termination. Now, I don't think that's anything any of us wants to think about when we go into a new relationship with a client, but it happens. And so how do you deal with that
Right.
if you have it in this agreement, what does that do to protect you?
Sure. So with some coaches programs, the termination is kind of built into the length of the program. So some coaches offer a 3-month one-to-one
Hmm.
coaching program, or a 6-month program, or a 4-week group program, or something that automatically delineates the amount of time you'll be working together. But in some cases, coaches offer a program that then allows the client to renew for additional sessions or additional programs. And occasionally there are situations where you're just not a match. It's just not the best match, or you find that perhaps your client isn't ready to grow as much as they thought they were going to. Most
Hmm.
clients are great and most clients are willing, but there's always a situation where you just never know. So if you include a provision in your client agreement about how you'll part ways initially, in a really comfortable way, that it lets people know that how each of you can exit the program if that's needed. So it gives you an out rather than having to have this awkward conversation of
Right.
saying, "Hi, I don't really feel this is working for us." So it's just to help you with that.
Now, the fourth element that you say must be included in a client agreement is including confidentiality protections.
Right, right. So, as coaches and holistic entrepreneurs, a lot of our clients show up in the space where they really want to share the details of their health
Hmm.
situation or their food eating or their whatever's going on with their body, or perhaps their relationships or their family. And they really trust us with this information. They, especially in the holistic healthing context, they really open their hearts and share their
Right.
life with us so that we can help them, which is exactly what we want them to do. And
Yes.
even on the legal coaching side, people often will share, they sometimes share some of their financial information, if it's relevant to the conversation, or they just share some of their fears and worries about legal questions. So when you have a confidentiality provision, it just gives them the added assurance of knowing that we're holding their information in strict confidentiality and that we're going to safeguard it so that they don't have to worry about us sharing that with anyone else. The coaching world's very small, and so we
Right.
all run into a lot of the same people at times, and so we just want to give people added assurance that their information is safe with us.
And I think that having that in writing is probably does give a client the confidence to open up, and we know that that leads to a much better outcome if
Exactly.
you're really getting the client to level with you.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay, and then number five, you say, and you're very emphatic about this, and you need a disclaimer. I'm not even
Yes.
sure I know what you're talking about, so
Yeah.
tell
So
me what that's
yes.
about.
Absolutely. Okay, so a disclaimer is really a legal document, or even a section of a document that lets people know what you do and what you don't do. That's the
Hmm.
easiest way to put it. It's designed to make it really clear for our clients what role that we're coming to them in and what we don't do. So, for example, as a health coach, we want them to know we're coming to them as their advisor and their
Hmm.
coach and their guide, but we are not a doctor or a medical practitioner, and we want to make it very, very clear clear that we're not treating disease or treating illness or diagnosing any medical problem, and that they still need to follow their doctor's orders and recommendations.
Right.
So, for example, because our profession isn't as regulated as other professions right now, although some states do actually have some pretty clear regulations around coaching, but a lot of states don't yet. So we need to hold ourselves to a standard of excellence and integrity where we let people know what we do and what we don't do, so they can just be really clear about that. So when I work with people, with coaches, I create a disclaimer that they can have on their website that's quite lengthy, but
Uh-huh.
because there's no room for that in the actual client agreement, I just include a short section. I think they need to have a short section that includes limitations on liability, as well as that piece disclaiming what it is that they do and don't do. And that's just a way to be very clear and protect yourself in the client agreement as well.
Now, is there anywhere else you use that disclaimer? Like if you sell information products or even in your coaching handout materials, do you use it?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, Kathy. So the longer disclaimer is one that I recommend that people have on their website and actually include a link to it in the
Mm-hmm.
bottom of each of their pages of their website.
Oh,
But that's often too much information to put into an ebook, you know. So I recommend that people put a small couple lines at the bottom of their ebook or the bottom of their program page or information, so that, you know, again, if you're running a program about candida or something, that people know that you're not a doctor and that you're not trying to cure their medical issue. You're just trying to help them make changes to their lifestyle and diet that can help them, their bodies heal themselves. So yes, in an ebook, you'd want to put a small disclaimer, or maybe on a marketing page, but you know, each scenario is different, and
okay.
that's why I work with people one-on-one about that.
So, what are some of the potential consequences? What if you don't have this kind of a client agreement? What are you exposing yourself to potentially?
Sure. So the biggest risk in not having a client agreement is that you could run into trouble with actually collecting the dollars that are owed to you. I think that's the biggest fear that
Mm,
most coaches have. It's just very awkward to have those conversations
yeah,
about payment without something in writing backing up what both people agreed to at the start, and you don't have anything legally written down to prove that someone has agreed to pay you on a monthly basis a certain amount in installment payments. You just don't have anything to prove that, so it's hard to be able to collect it. So I think you also invest a lot of time and energy, and if people miss their coaching sessions, then it's hard for you to be able to tell them what happens if they miss their session,
right.
that maybe it's forfeited. So when you do that up front in the client agreement, you just eliminate all of that stress and worry and make it really clear for both of you how you're going to work together.
Now, Lisa, I've heard you talk about these legal agreements with clients in a coaching business or any kind of entrepreneur's business where you're working with providing services for clients one on one in a way I haven't heard anyone else talking about it, which is that having these things in place, this having your legal house in order for your business can actually raise your frequency and attract more of your ideal clients. I would love to hear
Yes.
you talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I believe that when we take actions that actually strengthen our business and our business, oh God, Kathy, I'm totally drawing a blank here. You're gonna have to edit that out. Okay, can you ask me that again? Go back. Ask me that again.
Yeah.
Let's go back and ask me that again.
Okay.
Sorry. Woo, we've been doing great. Sorry. Okay, go back.
So, so Lisa, you talk about these, legal. Uh, let me try
Okay,
again.
let's do it again. Sorry, I messed this up. That's
Okay,
right. One more
let's try
time.
that again.
Okay.
So, Lisa, I don't usually think of legal documents and putting your legal house in order for your business being connected to having a higher frequency and attracting more of your ideal clients. And yet you talk about that. I'm dying to know more about that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't make the connection between having legal protections in place and the fact that it really can help you attract more ideal clients. And the reason is this, Kathy. So I believe that energetically, when we are acting in ways that increase the professionalism of our business and kind of take us to that next level of our business practices, that we're actually putting boundaries around our work and boundaries around ourselves that enable us to draw to us clients at a higher frequency and that are more of our ideal clients. So when you get really crystal clear about your boundaries around payment, around scheduling calls, around missed calls, around things like that, that actually you attract people who also are very clear that they're willing to abide by your boundaries. So I believe not only is it from a professional standpoint wise to do and a legal standpoint, obviously, but I also think energetically that you are putting yourself in a better position to draw towards you people with a higher frequency themselves. And because I do believe in energy exchange among coaches
Mm-hmm.
and clients, I think that's a really important piece that a lot of people don't think about.
Wow, I think that's a great incentive to make sure you have these legal pieces in place in your business. That's
Right.
amazing, Lisa. I just have a couple of more questions for you.
Sure.
Um, this one is going back to your personal situation a little bit. I
Okay.
was, can you identify one decision that you've made that you think has had the biggest impact on your business?
Wow. One decision I've made that's had the biggest impact on my business. I was just coaching a client yesterday around this. I was actually working with her on a legal issue, but she had shared with me that she was feeling stuck creating a new program. And we were actually talking about a client agreement and putting her new
Mm-hmm.
program into the agreement. And one thing that I was able to share with her is that I feel like some of the best advice I've received that I shared with her is that if you are unsure, just do it. Just start doing it. Take action. And the beautiful thing about the holistic health world is that because so much of our business is online, you can change your work all the time. As you grow as a coach and get better at what you do, you can change your programs. And as you work with clients, you're going to want to tweak them, and you can do that. So I tried to give her sort of permission to let herself not have to worry about being perfect and just start putting it out there and revise it as you go along. And a lot of us are all type A,
Mm-hmm.
perfectionists, really driven people who go into these professions. And so I think that the more people can just go ahead and take action and not worry about it and give themselves permission to revise as they go is one of the best things I think that I did and that others can do.
And that's a wonderful piece of advice. So, finally, I just want to give you a chance to tell people where they can find you, Lisa.
Oh, sure. So, Kathy, my website is lisafraley.com. Right now, it's undergoing a facelift, a healthy, nutritional facelift, not an artificial, toxic facelift. And so it is under construction, but I do have a couple of pages available, and that is lisafraley.com/agreement, which is about client agreements. And for anyone who's interested in creating an LLC for their business, which we haven't really talked about here, but it's lisafraley.com/LLC. And if you just want to know more about me, you can go to my health coaching website, which is Maine, as in the state of Maine, healthylifecoach.com. And you can check out my about page there.
Ah, that's great, Lisa. This has been a lot of fun and incredibly informative. And it's a real testament to you that I think that you can take something that could be a very dry subject and make it really not only interesting, but, find some real positives in it. And I love the way you present it and the work you're doing. And I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being with me today.
Thank you, Kathy. We do try to make legal work fun. And thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of your great show. I'm really, really honored, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa, and take care.
Thanks. Bye bye.
So I hope you enjoyed our conversation and picked up some good insights and advice. And if you like this interview, please share it with your friends and visit my website. Here's the easy address, thecathyshow.com. And leave me some comments and subscribe to my email list so you can get my next episode delivered straight to your inbox. Till next time, wishing you brilliant health and downright ridiculous wealth.